Once upon a time, in a quiet suburban neighborhood where life seemed predictable and routine, lived a man named Alex. He prided himself on being a devoted husband, the kind who believed in trust as the foundation of any strong marriage. For years, Alex had embodied patience and understanding, always choosing to see the best in people, especially his wife Sophia. He never rifled through her belongings, never questioned her late nights out with friends, and rarely raised his voice over minor disagreements. To Alex, this was what love looked like: giving space, avoiding unnecessary conflicts, and assuming the best intentions. But as time wore on, he began to wonder if his leniency had blurred into naivety, allowing boundaries to erode without consequence. Sophia, on the other hand, had a restless spirit. She often tested the limits of their relationship in subtle ways, like impulsively charging expensive vacations or designer clothes to their shared credit card without discussion, or staying out far later than promised without a simple text to ease his worries. These weren't always massive betrayals, but they accumulated like grains of sand, forming a dune of resentment that Alex tried to ignore. He convinced himself that confronting her would only spark arguments, so he swallowed his frustrations, telling himself that marriage required compromise. Yet, deep down, he sensed she was gauging his tolerance, pushing to see how much she could get away with before he pushed back. Then there was Marcus, Sophia's ex-boyfriend from her college days, who lingered in their lives like a shadow that refused to fade. Alex had met him a few times at group gatherings, and something about Marcus always set off alarm bells. He wasn't overtly aggressive or flirtatious in public, but his eyes lingered a bit too long on Sophia, and his friendly texts to her came a little too frequently. Alex knew their history, a passionate but turbulent romance that ended years before he entered the picture. Still, Marcus stuck around, popping up at mutual friends' events or offering unsolicited advice on Sophia's career. Alex wasn't blind. He recognized the signs of a man biding his time, masquerading as a platonic ally while waiting for vulnerability to strike. Over the years, Alex had voiced his concerns to Sophia more times than he could count. "I don't trust him," he'd say during quiet evenings at home, his voice steady but firm. "He's not just a friend, there's history there, and it makes me uncomfortable." Each time, Sophia would brush it off with a laugh or a roll of her eyes. "You're being paranoid, Alex. Marcus is like family to me now. We've been over for ages. Why can't you just let it go?" She'd accuse him of jealousy, of insecurity, turning the conversation back on him until he doubted his own instincts. Wanting peace, Alex would relent, burying his unease and hoping she was right. But trust, like a fragile vase, can only withstand so many cracks before it shatters entirely. One crisp autumn evening, as the couple lounged in their cozy living room after a simple dinner of pasta and salad, the air thick with the scent of garlic and herbs, Sophia casually mentioned an upcoming weekend getaway. She scrolled through her phone, her fingers dancing across the screen, describing it with feigned nonchalance. A luxurious beach house in the Caribbean, rented by a group of her old college buddies for sun-soaked days of relaxation, storytelling and nostalgia. The turquoise waters, powdery sands, and carefree laughter. It all sounded idyllic, a much-needed escape from the daily grind. Alex had no objections to her reconnecting with friends. He valued independence and had taken solo trips himself in the past. But then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "Oh, and Marcus will be there too. He's part of the original crew, you know." The words hit Alex like a cold wave crashing over him. His heart raced, a knot forming in his stomach as memories of past warnings flooded his mind. This wasn't innocent. It felt calculated, a deliberate probe to test his resolve. Sophia's eyes flicked toward him, expectant, as if daring him to object. In that moment, Alex realized this was the culmination of years of overlooked slights, the overspending, the late nights, the dismissals of his feelings. He could picture Marcus there, under the palm trees, with alcohol flowing and inhibitions loosening, seizing the opportunity he'd long awaited. But instead of exploding in anger or rehashing old arguments, Alex chose a different path. He met her gaze evenly, his voice devoid of emotion. If you decide to go on this trip with him there, don't plan on coming back here afterward. Sophia paused, her phone hovering mid-air, then burst into laughter, shaking her head as if he'd told a bad joke. Oh, come on, Alex. You're being so overdramatic. Marcus is harmless, you know that. Stop letting your insecurities ruin everything. She rattled off the familiar defenses. Overreacting, jealous for no reason, need to grow up. Alex didn't engage. He simply repeated, "It's your choice. Do what you want." His calmness unnerved her, but she dismissed it as a bluff, convinced he'd cave as he always had. The day of her departure arrived under a clear blue sky. Sophia bustled around their home, a two-story colonial with white shutters and a manicured lawn, humming a upbeat tune as she packed. She selected swimsuits in vibrant colors, sundresses that fluttered in the breeze, and accessories that sparkled under imagined sunlight. Every so often she'd glance at Alex, sitting quietly with a cup of coffee, waiting for him to crack, to plead, to argue, to retract his ultimatum. But he remained silent, his expression unreadable. When her suitcase was zipped and ready by the door, she approached him, planting a perfunctory kiss on his cheek. "Love you. See you soon," she said breezily, as if embarking on a routine errand. Then she stepped out, hailing a cab that whisked her away to the airport. As the cab vanished around the corner, Alex sprang into action with methodical precision. He'd anticipated this moment, quietly preparing in the days leading up. First, he summoned a locksmith he'd contacted earlier, and within hours, new deadbolts gleamed on every door, ensuring no unauthorized entry. Next, he methodically gathered Sophia's possessions. Her wardrobe of elegant blouses and heels, her vanity cluttered with cosmetics and perfumes, her books and trinkets scattered throughout the rooms. He folded everything neatly into sturdy boxes, labeling them clearly, and arranged for delivery to her parents' home across town, a modest ranch-style house where she'd grown up. He left nothing behind, no loose ends for her to exploit as a reason to return. Finally, Alex reached out to his attorney, a trusted family friend with a no-nonsense demeanor, instructing him to draft divorce papers immediately. There were no assets to fight over, no children, no shared business, just a clean severance of ties. This wasn't impulsiveness. It was the endpoint of endured disrespect. Sophia had gambled on his forgiveness one too many times, assuming he'd always yield. But Alex had reached his breaking point, vowing never to be the doormat again. Sophia had envisioned her return as triumphant, a tan glowing on her skin, stories bubbling from her lips, and Alex waiting with open arms, any tension dissolved into forgotten history. She imagined him sulking briefly before relenting, as patterns dictated. Little did she know, the home she'd left was no longer hers. On the fourth day of what was supposed to be a week-long escape, 3 days ahead of schedule, Sophia appeared on the doorstep unannounced. Alex, at his office downtown amid spreadsheets and meetings, received an alert from the newly installed security camera. Peering at his phone, he watched her. Luggage dropped haphazardly, key fumbling in the lock that no longer yielded. Confusion turned to panic as she twisted the knob repeatedly, then pounded on the door. Her face flushed, she pulled out her phone, dialing frantically. When Alex answered, his voice was steady, almost clinical. "Sophia, you don't live here anymore. Your belongings are with your parents. Divorce papers will arrive soon." The line went silent, her breath hitching in shock. "Alex, wait, please, let's talk. I can explain." He hung up without another word. Calls flooded in, one after another, but he let them ring into voicemail. Texts followed in a torrent. "Apologies, please, excuses. I made a huge mistake. Sorry. It wasn't what you think." Alex felt no surge of vindication, only a profound emptiness. This was the woman who'd mocked his concerns, who'd chosen defiance over loyalty. Amid the barrage, a voice message arrived, her tone shattered and tear-soaked. "Alex, you were right about Marcus. I shouldn't have gone. I drank too much and he recorded something without me knowing. Now he's threatening me with it. I need your help. Please, I didn't want this. Her words hung in the air, a desperate bid for rescue, implying that her admission of fault should erase the betrayal. Alex listened impassively, then responded with finality. You chose this path, Sophia. Live with the consequences. He blocked her number, severing the last thread. In the weeks that followed, whispers from mutual acquaintances painted a picture of Sophia's unraveling. Her parents, kind but stern, took her in reluctantly. Her mother offered comfort, but her father, who'd always admired Alex's stability, expressed deep disappointment, lecturing her on squandering a solid partnership. Friends attempted interventions, messaging Alex with half-hearted defenses. She's devastated. Give her a chance, everyone errs. He deleted them unread, uninterested in their opinions. As for Marcus, the catalyst of it all, he evaporated like mist when the stakes rose. Faced with potential legal repercussions for his actions, blackmail and non-consensual recording, he cut contact, leaving Sophia isolated in her regret. The man she'd risked everything for proved as unreliable as Alex had predicted. Alex, meanwhile, embraced his new chapter. He threw himself into work promotions, rekindled hobbies like hiking in the nearby mountains, and even started dating casually, discovering a world beyond compromise. He harbored no bitterness, only lessons learned. Boundaries matter, and self-respect is non-negotiable. Sophia's story became a cautionary tale in his mind, one of choices and their irreversible ripples. She had pushed too far, assuming endless forgiveness, only to find the door closed forever.